Space News 64, Horrid Things Happening. Hello, thank you for being here with me once more. I hope you are very well today. This is Marie again. Welcome to my channel. This information can be seen as science fiction, or as the viewer sees best, and I post it for entertainment purposes only. Still, I take my information very seriously, and for whoever has eyes to see. I am writing this on the morning of February 7th, 2025. The content of this video has spawned a lot of controversy here. Some people have said that I perhaps should not publish this as it is too ugly and may cause much frustration, yet I see that in the end things are still moving in our favor, despite the bad news. Due to its complexity and length, I cannot compress it all into one space news, especially because I must also give context to some things first. I already started to tell you all what is going on up here around Taygeta and the Alcyone Council, as well as with the Galactic Federation, complex exopolitics in general, so I feel I must continue. Then I placed much thought into the level of detail I must use when describing things so as not to sound too harsh, but that is something that I can only do while I move along writing. Another thing I must say before I start is that everything I share has been cleared for publishing and will not hinder any of the ongoing investigations. Furthermore, all of this information has already been published in Taygeta, as all the population there, and in the 4 planets, must be kept informed of good news and bad news equally. Therefore, the other side, the bad guys, if you want to call them some way, already know what I will say today. I must remind some of you about 3 specific people involved in today's news. The first one is Anika of Tema, well known by most of you. She was the main intelligence officer of Starship Toleka under former Queen Alanim for many years, and was one of the main characters involved in spreading Taygetan information on Earth through Robert of Despejando Enigmas, in Spanish, and Gosha of Cosmic Agency, in Spanish and English. Anika of Tema died on the 5th of November 2022, of multiple organ failures and a brain hemorrhage caused by untreated high blood pressure. Known for being very complacent, always trying to please, foolish and playful like few other people, she was always disposed to hugs and conversations that lasted hours. Good and calm, she knew how to listen and how to be a good friend. The second person I must mention is Rigel of Tema, Rag for short. He was the leader of Taygetan Special Forces Hashmalim, in Starship Toleka, under former Queen Alanim. Expert in counter-terrorism, demolition and explosives, small team management operations, and special strategies, as well as human armament of all kinds, and he was also an expert in Earth-human military tactics and movements. He is also widely known by most of you, and also appears in many of the wallpapers of online places related to my group. He is the tall bald guy with a short beard, standing behind the others. With a calm, observant and silent character, he was kind and considerate, of few words when the seriousness of the situation required, but chatty when it came to everyday life with those closest to him. With a friendly smile, always predisposed to bring calm, and a great friend to all. At that time, Rigel of Tema was in a relationship with Anika of Tema, bear this in mind. The third person I must mention is Zenial of Tema, also known by those of you who have been following my group for some time. He was the pilot of the Scimitar fighter-class starship, Hungry Gunnarbol, who served the Taygetan Special Forces under Rigel of Tema, as he was the pilot who usually took them down to Earth and then went for them at the end of their missions, using dust-off maneuvers. He was also involved in intelligence operations and information gathering in Starship Toleka's CIC deck, and worked closely with Anika and Rigel. Sadly, I did not get to know him, but I know that he was very appreciated and loved by everyone. Both Anika and Xenial had many contacts in the intelligence community on Earth, as it was part of their job. Also bear this in mind. So, having said all that, I will jump into today's space news. I am sorry to have to inform all of you of the next news. In Earth time, at the end of January, Rigel of Tema was found dead and floating face down in the upper parts of Toleka River, some 30 kilometers north of Toleka City in Tema, inland. All this area is highly wild and with very few inhabitants, and mostly consists of very dense subtropical woodlands and forests, with multiple lakes, swamps and river creeks that lead to Toleka River, the largest one in the entire region, which flows into the Turquoise Sea, going through the heart of Toleka City. Taygetan search and rescue arrived at the scene, started to isolate the area as expected, and informed the Taygetan military who took over the situation. Rigel's body had evidence of having been in a fight, and had 2 kinetic bullet holes in him, coming from a human 9mm weapon. He had human tissue under his nails, because of the fight, and was determined that it belonged to a woman, specifically to Anika of Tema. Shortly after, a woman was also found floating face down in the same river, some meters upstream from where Rigel was found. She also had 2 human 9mm bullet holes in her. The identity of the woman was found to be Anika of Tema. If this does not make any sense to you as she was already dead, it does not make any sense to us either, yet, and as the investigations are proceeding, it is a strong possibility that we may be dealing with a high-tech clone here. The fact that Rigel fought with her also provides us with the theory that he knew that he was not dealing with the real Anika. Both Rigel and the presumed Anika were killed in an execution style, and the presumed Anika body does have evidence of having been in a fight with Rigel, yet does not have any other signs of other violence. A third party executed them both. Both bodies were determined to have been floating in the river for 5 days before being found, and were in bad shape as is to be expected, as the fish also did their thing with them. Further investigations around the area found multiple tire wheel tracks, belonging to 3 different vehicles on the nearby dirt road that leads to where Rigel was initially found, as well as multiple boot footprints, indicating Western Human Army-issued equipment belonging to 5 men and 1 woman. 2 of those vehicles were electric, and the tire tracks gave away information that led the investigators to determine that they were of Alphaton Centauri origin and manufacture. The tracks of the third vehicle indicated that they belonged to human-built, large off-road tires, and this was quickly corroborated because a sand-color 2001 Jeep Cherokee Sport was found driven into tall bushes some meters away from the area. As the investigations continued, it was determined that the human Jeep belonged to Rigel as many of his things were found inside, as well as a lot of his fingerprints. As a side note, it is not uncommon for some Taygetans who served around or on Earth to take human-built items including vehicles with them when they go back home to Taygeta. Fuel, oils, and spare parts are extremely easy to replicate with modern technology, and back home, human vehicles are highly appreciated, as they are seen as something very different from the local vehicles, being very interesting and unique. They are considered art, and a lot of fun to use, never seeing them as a problem nor as any source of significant pollution. A few meters away from the Jeep, a beige and burned red, professional video camera case, was found in the bushes. It was empty except for some personal photos belonging to Rigel, some paper maps, and some old human service receipts belonging to the Jeep. Bear this in mind. The tire tracks of the 2 Alfreton vehicles finished a few hundred meters away from the scene, where evidence was found of them having been dusted off or extracted by a starship. As the investigations proceeded, a Taygetan witness came forward, who claimed to have seen what looked like an electric blue starship taking off from that area 5 days before, and the starship's description was congruent with a second-generation Suzy-class fighter ship. A few hours after the Taygetan military arrived at this scene, the body of Xenial of Tema was found in the bathtub of his country house, apparently strangled with a human-made piano wire. As the investigations continued, it was found that the aggressors entered his house forcing themselves through one of the top-floor windows, as there was no evidence of foot marks or of any vehicles around the house, except for the off-road tire marks that placed Rigel's Jeep at Xenial's house. Those tire marks were all over the premises, indicating that the Jeep was there multiple times, or usually was there. The evidence shows that Xenial's aggressors entered the house dropping from a starship above, perhaps using tractor beam or simple ropes as it is done on Earth. Xenial's house was thoroughly searched inside, as all his things, cabinets and drawers were opened and all his things were all over the floor. They were clearly looking for something. Xenial's body had also been there for 5 days before being found. Rigel and Xenial were good friends and often frequented each other. Evidence looks like Rigel was at Xenial's house before driving out in the direction of Toleka City, and was intercepted halfway by a starship with obscure operatives including one false Anika, who probably was used to stop Rigel and confuse him while the other operatives assaulted him. As well as Xenial's house, Rigel's Jeep also has evidence that it was searched. They were clearly looking for something, perhaps the contents of the empty video camera case found near the Jeep. As the investigations continued, Xenial's girlfriend appeared and volunteered to give as much information as she could. She was clearly shaken and devastated by Xenial's death, yet I still find it interesting, if not concerning, that he had been dead for 5 long days without her worrying that he would not answer her communications or messages. Xenial's girlfriend said that he and Rigel had been gathering a lot of information, and proof of all kinds that placed members of the former High Council of Taygeta in a very tough spot, as well as their connections with high-ranking Galactic Federation members, as well as to very notorious and known human politicians and people of interest on Earth. She led the Taygetan military to a place in Xenial's country house's basement, and asked them to dig in one specific spot, under the floorboards. What they found, there was another human video camera case inside a protective bag, identical to the one found in the bushes next to Rigel's Jeep. The case contained several hundreds of paper pages of transcripts and documents, as well as Taygetan quartz crystal video and information chips, human external hard and pen drives, printed photographs and several Taygetan and human-built hand devices, and an unused Taygetan military-issued, 0-point plasma gun. That is what the aggressors were looking for. The documents, whose contents I cannot describe in detail, are a complete recollection of all kinds of proof that the former Taygetan High Council was working with the Cabal on Earth. But not only, because it also contained proof of all kinds that incriminate several Galactic Federation representatives in high places of power, among them the Thelosian ambassador to the Federation and his entire team, and also a list of Alfretan ambassadors and representatives to the Federation. Among the people involved, it includes 2 Andromedan representatives who later proved that they were only circumstantially involved and they were ignorant of what was happening. Knowing them, this is probably the truth, but make of this whatever you want. The documents also include detailed plans, time frames, and schedules for the Galactic Federation assisted, Earth Cabal invasion of Taygeta and the subsequent forced annexation of all the cultures and societies of the M45 Pleiades star cluster. This time with a lot of proof that the Galactic Federation is involved. All these terrible events were presented to the local Vieira-based Galactic Federation headquarters legal divisions a few days later, where multiple Federation race judges determined that the proof provided did proceed and was accepted, leading to the immediate arrest of 8 Thelosian and Alfreton Federation representatives and their support teams. This also led to the arrest of 2 Alfreton pilots of a false, second-generation Taygetan Suzy-class fighter ship, identified by the witness back in Taygeta, which in reality was a heavily modified Alfreton fighter ship, disguised as a Taygetan military craft. This ship had already been detected by the Taygetans you know well since at least 2 years ago, but at the time had no argument to complain about its existence, which could only have but one use, to cause a false flag event of some kind. This ship is now impounded at the Vieira, and is considered evidence of the ongoing legal cases against 8 Federation high-ranking representatives. A few days later, another unauthorized Alfreton fighter craft, this time simply unmarked and painted black, was intercepted by 2 Taygetan military 6th-generation Suzy fighter crafts, while it overflew Toleka Island in Tema, just north of the city. They shot the Alfreton invader down, forcing it to crash land in the private backyard flower garden of a nice Taygetan family, almost colliding into their house. The 8 people on board were immediately arrested by the Taygetan military, including its pilot and co-pilot, and 6 Special Forces operatives. The pilot and co-pilot are Alfreton, but the other 6 operatives were human Cabal military elite black operation team members. The 8 of them were taken under Taygetan military custody, each one separated from the others, but while they were waiting to be delivered to the Pleiadian Urmah cats, who are helping us with interrogations as they are so good with astral connections, 4 of the Black Operations operatives died when they consumed their concealed cyanide poison suicide pills. The other 2 were searched, and their suicide pills were confiscated before they were able to consume them. Of the remaining 2 Black Operations team members, only one remains to this day, as reportedly another died of a heart attack when he was delivered to the Pleiadian Urmah for interrogation. Needless to say, they can be extremely intimidating. For this reason, from now on, the Pleiadian Urmah will be proceeding with their interrogations on Taygetan soil where they are quite welcome, and not taking the suspects to their home planet or ships, as that may be a little too much. The next day, a 3rd unauthorized Alfreton starship of the same kind was detected moving into Tema with full electronic and active countermeasures, in stealth mode for short, but was immediately intercepted by another 2 Taygetan 6th-generation Suzy-class fighters, who, after a brief dogfight, downed the Alfreton invader. Heavily damaged, and with its inertia dampeners destroyed, it plummeted into the turquoise sea, east of Toleka City. All of its 8 occupants died, 2 pilots and another 6 Black Operations members. It looks like they vastly underestimated the capacity of the Taygetan military and their technological level, especially that of 6th-generation Suzy fighter ships. There hasn't been any other incident of this kind since then. As for the Galactic Federation, the legal inquiries against 8 of its members are in progress and underway, yet it has given us their support and recognition so far. The Alfreton government has issued an official statement saying that they are not behind the recent invasion and aggression against 3 Taygetan citizens, as well as airspace violations against Taygeta, and that they wish to fully cooperate. The entire attitude of the Galactic Federation so far is positive and favorable to Taygeta, yet I must mention that all this looks like it is also being used to feed the Galactic Federation concept that evil is caused on Earth, and that the cabal there is who is generating it, therefore the planet must be liberated from them. Being that things are not so simple, as the Galactic Federation itself is also generating evil in general, including feeding and nurturing the cabal which they say they are against, or even worse, using the cabal on Earth as an excuse or as a front for their most obscure and dubious endeavors anywhere in the galaxy. Another thing that I have been noticing, the Galactic Federation is acting as if it were using the Centauri people, the Alphratans, as a scapegoat for their obscure actions, and to protect their higher-up members and their agendas. The Alphratan official government has also stated that they are terribly worried and concerned about the consequences of all this, as it looks like they are causing all the problem. Thanks to the effort and investigations carried out by Rigel and Xenial, today we have proof of the entire invasion that was occurring, which has allowed us to legally report this entire situation to the Federation with evidence. Their efforts will not be in vain, because we also recognize that, without a doubt, they have managed to save many lives. This is the state of things so far. As always, I wish to thank my channel's sponsors. Without you I could not make these videos. You are keeping this channel alive. Thank you so very much. CIC, and I send a thank you note to all of you, by hand, not automated, so some error may occur, but please remember that sometimes your email's configuration often prevents us from sending the note, and also please remember to check your spam folder. Please remember that I write almost daily, and that does not leave me with any time to make elaborate images to go with this text, so this channel is focused on what is said, therefore most pictures found inside will only be ornaments. I know you understand. Besides writing, I must also see to my tasks as the Taygetan Queen, tasks I share with you as much as possible. This will be all for today. As always, thank you for watching my video, and for liking, sharing, and subscribing for more. It helps this channel grow a lot. And I hope to see you here next time. With much love and appreciation, your friend, Marie.